Hello everyone, this is just a quick little clip from me to say that if you enjoy this content and you want to see more like it and you want to support it, feel free to subscribe. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers as quickly as possible and we're almost at 18,700, so any support would be greatly appreciated. I also have a Twitter and an Instagram if you'd like to follow those. The link will be in the description below. But with that said, enjoy the clip. But there's a couple of things I wanted to go over really, and I think the major sort of discourse that was sparked last night, I suppose, and it's been something that's been kind of a prevalent discussion ever since the concept of the 60th had been kind of further fleshed out, was the idea that, oh, so it's just David Tennant and Catherine Tate doesn't feel very 60th anniversary to me. And I have a couple of responses to this. Number one, I tweeted out last night, personally, I'd much prefer a focus story on a select few characters, not last night, rather than today. I don't know why I said last night, than cramming in a million cameos into just one story for the sake of it, but hey, that's just me. And I think this is how I think and I view the 60th anniversary. Don't get me wrong, and I should preface this opening kind of statement by saying, I'm a Matt Smith fan, like, he's my favourite of all of them. That's always been the case, probably always will, although I love Tennant as well. But the reality of the situation is, Russell wasn't in a very easy position when it came to the 60th anniversary. And let me explain why. Okay, so you think about it, logistically. Chibnall's left. You've got this weird in-between phase where, a new Doctor hasn't been selected yet, but you want to do something for the anniversary. In terms of Doctors and Companions, we just had Power of the Doctor, which has literally every classic Doctor, bar Tom Baker, I guess, and a ton of classic companions. When it comes to the New Who boys, you've got, obviously, Chris won't do it, for obvious reasons. That's been, made very clear. Peter, whilst I don't think is quite as unwilling, is probably in a similar boat to Eccleston. That's just the reality. And then with Whittaker, she's just left. So that leaves you with two Doctors and maybe, that leaves you with two Doctors who haven't appeared in a few years, who you could realistically do to drum up hype for the 60th. And that gives you 10th Doctor, or David Tennant and Matt Smith. Those are the two. When you look at it like that, if you were to do a story with those two, whilst I think there are ways you could do that story in a different way, to the average person, and I can guarantee this would be said, even if there was narrative justification and different reasonings for it, people would just say, oh, but it's just the 50th anniversary again. That is what people would say. And whilst, again, I would love Matt Smith to come back, from the story we have as it exists at the moment, additional Doctor cameos, at least to me, don't feel super necessary to the overall plot. Don't get me wrong, if they are surprises, great, and I'm more than, be more than happy to have them there. But at the same time, as I said in my initial tweet, I would much prefer a story focused on a few characters that he wants to tell his story with, rather than just cramming everyone in for the sake of doing it. I understand that it's the 60th, and, people kind of expect that, but equally, whilst this is something that's meant to, sort of celebrate the show as a whole, we must also not forget that this is a story that will be the reintroduction to Doctor Who for many, many newcomers. So whilst it might be whilst the compulsion might be from fans to have, I want this Doctor back, I want this Doctor back, I want this Doctor back, not only is that kind of infeasible for the reasons I kind of outlined already, but also I don't know whether that would be as accessible to a new audience than what we have currently, because the comments are just filled. If you go on any YouTube video on the new trailer, particularly just the main one, the comments are absolutely filled on that video with people being like, oh, I haven't watched Doctor Who in years, and I'm going to watch it again. And I think that was the plan. So basically, to reiterate what I'm saying, whilst I'm not going to say that I would not like to see other Doctors, of course I would. I think the way they're doing it, the storyline, it makes sense, and I'm not too opposed to it. A, because we literally had a massive celebration last episode, and B, there's many logistics behind getting, New Who and other Doctors. I think there's a lot more to that than people realise. When Moffat was doing the 50th, literally the only person who was contracted was Jenna Coleman's Clara Oswald, and that was it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not as easy to do anniversaries and they can't just bring back everyone whenever they want. You know what I mean? It's not as simple as that. I would say what they're doing now is more unique as well, because we've never seen a Doctor in their original form reunite with their companion many years afterwards. That is a new concept for an anniversary. And everyone says it, oh, multi-Doctor story is kind of overdone. I've heard that criticism loads. So I don't envy the position here. But the other thing I want to say is I'm seeing a lot of people kind of like, sort of, I guess, be quite gatekeepy when it comes to people who watched the David Tennant era now coming back after a few years. And to reiterate, I've been watching Doctor Who since 2008. I've been watching it towards the end of Tennant all the way up to now. I've been through the whole journey. But at the same time, what I think people need to understand about where we're at currently is that people having preferences towards a certain thing doesn't necessarily mean it's an attack on the other things. Again, I'm a massive Matt Smith fan, but if they didn't really vibe with Matt Smith or Stephen Moffat or Chris Chibnall, then that's fine. If they want to come back for Tennant, let them. And maybe, just maybe, if this era, if this story, if this sort of transition period goes right, they might stick around for Ncuti Gatwa. And then we have more new fans, which can only ever be a good thing for the show in itself. So I don't really know. I don't think that greeting those fans with hostility is the right way to build a strong fandom again. I think that while, yeah, you can say, oh, check out this story, check out this story. If you've missed out on it, this one's really good. Give recommendations, of course. But, try not to demean people just because they've just come back after a few years. They didn't betray Doctor Who. Some people just fall out of love with things. I even had a period like that during Series 9 where I'm like, you know what? I'm not really feeling this at the moment. It's being human. They're not being toxic, But that's just how I see that. Thank you to Kenzo for the subscribe. But yeah, I think what I'm saying is, bottom line, it's okay to be hesitant towards this whole anniversary concept. And I get people who want to see other Doctors. I just find that there is a select small portion of people I'm noticing, I think because people enjoyed the previous stuff, which they have every right to do, they kind of feel resentful that it's going back for like other people, or like they kind of feel like, oh, why didn't people like the thing I liked as much? And it's like, at the end of the day, it's all Doctor Who. You know what I mean? Moffat, Davies, Chibnall, it's all Doctor Who. Everyone's allowed their preferences, and it's all fine. And a lot of people are just saying that, like, oh, the 60th is just RTD1 nostalgia, when already it's seeming like we have the Toymaker, Beep the Meep, Wraith Warriors, Unit, potentially a Mel Bush cameo from rumours as well. I don't think it is just RTD1, but that's just me.